She discovers a hidden truth. Her first love is now an incredible billionaire. Heartwarming journey of redemption awaits. Emma stood frozen in the aisle of the Maplewood Library, her fingers trembling over the pages of an old newspaper. The headline screamed at her, "Local boy makes billion-dollar tech fortune." A photo of Lucas, the boy who once held her heart, grinned at her from the past. He looked so different, so polished, a stark contrast to the dusty library and her own unremarkable life as a high school science teacher. Waves of shame and longing crashed over her. Here she was, caught in a small town, sacrificed ambitions buried under layers of family obligations and bills that never seemed to stop piling up. Where had she gone wrong? Memories flooded back. Lucas's laughter, their teenage dreams of changing the world. Moments they had spoken of flying away together, ambitions of not just escaping Maplewood but of doing something grand. But time and duty anchored her, each moment not spent pursuing her own aspirations cemented by care for her aging parents. Now she grasped the juxtaposition of their lives, and it was a monumental weight, one that made her heart ache. The financial realities loomed large, suffocatingly present. Every obligation she shouldered felt heavy, a persistent reminder of what she had given up for love that had faded like the newspaper she held. As she continued to circle the rows of books, a gnawing question whispered in her mind. Why had she stayed? Meanwhile, Lucas flew into the stratosphere. Before she could fully confront it, her phone buzzed, breaking her reverie, an invitation to a high school reunion with Lucas as the guest of honor. Excitement and fear clashed in her chest as she read through the details. How could she face him? What would she say to the man who had left, achieving everything they once dreamed of, while she remained shackled to the responsibilities of life? The reunion approached, anxiety gnawed at Emma as she prepared herself. Each former classmate's laughter echoed the distance that had grown between them, and the whispers would sting. They would question her choices, her loyalty to the town, her path in life. How could you stay in Maplewood when Lucas made it big? Their judgments would be sharp as knives. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night arrived, and the gym glittered with nostalgia and excitement. Yet as she saw Lucas walk in, the years melted away, memories racing forward, quicker than her heart could align with the present. Their conversation felt electric, every word igniting a past that still held weight. They spoke about dreams, about unfinished promises wrapped in the safety of shared familiarity, yet she felt the creeping dread of judgment piercing through their laughter, the whispers framing their reunion in the eyes of classmates who had always watched her choices with a critical eye. As Lucas proposed a scholarship for local students, Emma felt the urgency of her own insecurities spill forth. Could their shared legacy act as a bridge, or would it only magnify the chasm between their lives? She realized with growing dread that this moment was not merely a reunion, it beckoned the culmination of her sacrifices, the confrontation of her choices, and she felt painfully aware that her dreams once tethered to Lucas now lay scattered like fallen leaves, lost to time. Time stretched and twisted around them, and as they faced each other, the unspoken truth loomed a painful crossroads. Would they find a way to honor their past while embracing new futures? Or would their diverging paths shatter any chance of reconciliation? Emma's heart raced as the reunion culminated, each glance exchanged heavy with everything left unsaid. Would the ghosts of their choices ultimately tear them apart? As Emma stood there amidst the flashing memories and the direction of their lives, the question loomed larger than ever. The air buzzed with a palpable tension as Emma lingered by the refreshments table, the clinking of glasses and hushed chatter around her forming a cacophony that only heightened her sense of isolation. Lucas had moved on. His life was a testament to ambition, while hers felt like a stagnant pool of unfulfilled potential. The scholarship announcement felt both generous and condescending, a reminder that with wealth came power, and yet sometimes the true currency was choice, something she felt she had squandered. With every passing moment, doubt clawed at her stomach. What did she have to offer? The narrative of her life felt incomplete compared to the success story Lucas had etched from their shared dreams. She sipped her punch, trying to drown the anxious thoughts swirling in her mind. As she watched people admire Lucas, her own sense of worth felt diminished. No accolades, no personal achievements, just a teacher lost in the shadows of what should have been. Suddenly, amidst the crowd, Emma spotted a familiar face approaching, someone who seemed to see her clearly through the tumult, her former best friend from school, Sarah. They exchanged simple pleasantries, but Emma felt the weight of their shared history. Sarah had followed a different path, one that led to vibrant city lights and opportunities only dreamed of back in Maplewood. "What is going on in that head of yours?" Sarah asked, cutting through Emma's introspection. It was a question imbued with understanding rather than judgment. Emma hesitated, wrestling with the impulse to hide her insecurities. "Just thinking about choices we made, you know." "About Lucas?" Sarah prodded gently. Emma sighed, unsure whether she wanted to delve into the past or the future. "More like the roads we didn't take. He's an inspiration, I guess. While I'm here, holding on to my small world, he's out there changing lives. Sometimes, it's not just about changing the world. Sometimes it's about changing your world," Sarah replied, her eyes serious now. "You have to own your story, Emma. Don't let anyone write it for you." Those words ignited a flicker of defiance within Emma. She had done her best to support her family, but what about her? What if there was still time for her dreams? Later, making her way back to Lucas, a thought echoed insistently: Emma needed to fight for her own narrative. But how? Lucas, with his billionaire persona, had redefined success. She felt the tightness in her chest as she approached him, uncertainty swirling within her. This wasn't just a walk down memory lane, it was a reckoning. "Lucas," she said, the name felt foreign and familiar at once. He turned, surprise flickering on his face. Was it admiration, or concern? "Can we talk?" Emma's voice wavered with vulnerability. "Of course, Emma. You look great. How have you been?" His smile was warm, yet she could sense the disconnect, a gulf widened by years apart. "I've been." She paused, searching for truth amidst the facade she had cultivated. "I've been thinking about what you're doing for Maplewood, and it's incredible." But it made me realize. His expression shifted from surprise to curiosity, and she pressed on. "I want to be more than just a teacher here. I want to shape my path, too." Lucas's surprise transformed into something thoughtful, and Emma felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. This was the moment where they could redefine their relationship, could bridge the gap, but with it came the potential for rejection. "Emma, you've always had that potential. Have you thought about pursuing it further?" he asked, his gaze illuminating a path forward. As they stood in the soft glow of the gymnasium lights, something unexpected stirred within her. Hope. A chance for growth outside the shadows of their teenage aspirations. "What if I wanted to collaborate with you on that scholarship? Bring technology back to the schools here?" Emma suggested, her heart pounding. His eyes flickered with interest, but there was hesitation, too. "That's ambitious," he replied slowly. "Maybe I've been holding myself back. What's stopping us from changing things together?" He looked contemplative, the weight of her proposition lingering between them, and the clock seemed to tick louder as Emma awaited his response. She could feel the walls of her past crumbling and a new vision taking shape, but would he join her, or would she have to carve out this journey alone? The question huddled in the air, raw and poignant, begging for resolution. Would this moment become a step toward a new chapter in her life or simply another dead end? Emma held her breath, the tension thickening the air between them. Lucas's eyes bore into hers, a pool of possibilities swirling just beneath the surface. The doubt she had buried so deeply began to surface. What if he dismissed her proposal? What if their paths had diverged too much? Emma, he finally said, pulling her from the spiral of her thoughts, I want to help you, but it's not just about bringing technology to the schools. It's about commitment and sustainability. You know that, right? His words lodged themselves painfully in her chest. Commitment. The word felt heavy, a burden she hadn't considered. What if she failed? Of course, she responded, her voice steadier than the panic thrumming within her. I'm ready for that. I know what I want to achieve. I just need a chance. Lucas studied her, the warmth of empathy shining through his gaze. What if we sit down together, evaluate what that chance looks like? I can't promise success, but I can promise support. The invitation invited a bolt of exhilaration mixed with frustration. She craved guidance but knew she needed to assert her vision as well. I want to lead this, she pressed, emboldened. I want to simply be facilitated. This is not just a stepping stone, it's crucial. All right, he replied slowly, and she saw the flicker of respect in his eyes. Let us start something new together. But we need a detailed plan. You'll have to prepare a proposal outlining your vision, the technology you want to implement, and how it'll change our community. The challenge sparked fire within her veins. Draft a proposal? Outline her vision clearly and assertively? The thought felt simultaneously invigorating and daunting. Could she articulate her dreams on paper, transform intangible aspirations into concrete steps? You know, I've always admired your ability to think big, but I can tell you every venture begins with a solid plan, he added. At that moment, she felt not just in the shadow of his success but on the brink of carving her own. I will. I want to create something meaningful, Emma uttered with newfound conviction, the words flowing with urgency. A program that not only equips students with skills but reignites their ambition. Lucas smiled, nodding. Now you're talking. When can we meet? Let us set a date, and I'll prepare everything we need, she replied, heart racing with possibility. After their exchange, Emma stepped away, her mind swirling with ideas, the first steps of a plan forming in her structured chaos. The school would need a computer lab, training workshops, and partnerships with local businesses for resources. Each detail felt like a step toward a larger world, a world of potential she could finally tap into. She pictured students eagerly engaging in new technologies, their eyes bright with curiosity and ambition, a reflection of the dreams she once had. But doubts lingered. Could she gain the necessary resources? Would anyone believe in her vision as much as she did? The fear of her own capabilities chipped away at her resolve, but Sarah's words echoed in her mind, own your story. She would not let fear define her. The next week passed in a flurry of motion. Emma poured herself into research, strategizing late into the night. She crafted every point of the proposal with fervor and clarity, her enthusiasm unearthing hidden competencies she hadn't acknowledged before. She used her teaching experience not just as a background but as the core strength of her project. As she finalized the document, she felt the weight of her past expectations lifting, replaced by palpable excitement for a future she was shaping. But the night before their scheduled meeting, a sudden panic seized her. What if this was just another wild goose chase? The shadows of self-doubt crept back in uninvited. Would Lucas still see her as a partner or merely a nostalgic remnant of their past? In that moment of silence, as she reread her proposal, she caught a glimpse of a reality she could hardly contemplate, a reality filled with risk, reward, focus, and, most importantly, growth. The morning of their meeting dawned bright and clear, invigorating her resolve, yet a nagging uncertainty lingered. Stepping into the coffee shop, heart racing, she steadied her breath, clutched her proposal tightly, and prepared herself to transform from a teacher into an advocate for change. As she approached their meeting table, a sudden thought rattled her. Was she ready to face the potential disappointment lurking just beneath the surface? But then, realizing her passion would drown doubt, Emma squared her shoulders, ready to take full command of her narrative. The moment of truth awaited her, and as she sat down opposite Lucas, she prepared herself to reveal not only her proposal, but the rebirth of her dreams. Could this truly be the fresh start she needed, or was it one more leap into the unknown? Emma glanced down at the proposal laid neatly before her, the pages echoing her ambitions and the sweat-drenched hours she had invested into making it come to life. It was no longer just an assortment of ideas strewn together, it represented her journey, a deliberate transition from doubt to determination. The aroma of coffee mingled with the anxious energy in the air as she faced Lucas, whose expression remained inscrutable. "Thanks for meeting with me," she began, the tremor in her voice barely masked by her smile. "Absolutely," he replied, leaning forward. "I'm eager to hear what you've put together." The moment hung between them, and Emma inhaled deeply, summoning every ounce of courage she had cultivated over the past week. As she initiated her presentation, the words spilled from her with a fervor she hadn't anticipated. She outlined her vision of a technological integration into the educational landscape, emphasizing how it would not only upgrade the school's facilities but also inspire a new generation of innovative thinkers. The program would not just be about technology, she explained passionately. It's about creating an environment where students feel empowered to explore, to take risks, and to discover their own passions. We can partner with local businesses, providing real-world experience while simultaneously developing their skills. Lucas listened intently, nodding at key points, and for a fleeting moment, a spark of confidence flared within her. But as she glanced at his expression, an inkling of uncertainty flickered. Was he merely humoring her enthusiasm or genuinely engaged? After she concluded her presentation, silence engulfed the table, a chasm of potential critique looming over her. "Emma, I am impressed with the effort you've put into this," Lucas finally said, breaking through her internal storm. "You've not only identified a gap in our system, but you've also laid out a clear path to address it. That's not an easy task." His acknowledgement propelled her resolve further. She had not only crafted a vision but articulated a call to action based on insights rooted in her own experiences. "Thank you," she breathed out, the warmth of affirmation flooding her senses. She couldn't let this slip away. But Lucas said, and her stomach dropped, preparing for the inevitable counterpoint. "We need to think bigger. You've got a solid foundation here, but you have to consider sustainability. How are you planning to maintain this program for the long haul? What's your backup plan if initial funding falls through?" Each question punctured her confidence as vulnerabilities she had overlooked emerged. She hadn't fully unpacked the operational complexities that came with her ambitious vision. Were her dreams just that constructs of a hopeful imagination? Quietly, she wrestled with the doubt creeping in, a whisper telling her she was unprepared. "I want us to create a legacy, not just a project," she countered, her voice steadier than she felt. "I plan to seek grants and cultivate relationships with businesses, but I realize I need to outline those steps explicitly. Would that be more reassuring?" "Definitely," he replied, his gaze steady. "And if we set measurable goals, we can track progress effectively. That's essential for sustainable growth." Emma's heart raced, not with defeat but with newfound clarity. Lucas's suggestions prompted realizations she hadn't anticipated, opening doors to deeper planning. "I want this to be a collaborative effort," she said, animated now as ideas flourished. "If we photograph milestones and engage the community, we can showcase it as a successful model to attract investors." "Now you're on the right path," Lucas replied, a smile breaking across his face. A surge of motivation coursed through her as they delved into specifics, drafting timelines and actionable steps, blending her vision with Lucas's strategic acumen. It felt like a dance of co-creation, each idea building upon the last, transforming abstract ambition into concrete reality. As the meeting progressed, something shifted within her. Emma began to see herself not just as a teacher advocating change but as a leader prepared to navigate the intricate landscape of educational reform. The previous anxiety that had shadowed her dissipated, replaced by an invigorating sense of purpose. But as she left the coffee shop, new, darker thought began to nag at the edges of her exhilaration. Had she truly stepped into her calling, or had she simply exchanged one set of doubts for another? That night, as she returned home, the glow of her laptop illuminated her face. She began to map out a deeper plan to address the business model and sustainability questions Lucas had raised. Each keystroke felt like an affirmation of her renewed direction. Yet as she typed, the shadows of self-doubt began to creep back in, unrelenting. What if her enthusiasm could not convert into success? What if she failed to sustain this newfound momentum? And the most terrifying thought of all, would she falter when she needed to stand tall the most? The clicking of keys echoed into the night, but deep down, Emma realized this was the moment she had been waiting for, a pivotal point where she could either succumb to her fears or wrestle back control over her destiny. As the screen illuminated her determined reflection, a harsh truth crystallized within her: the fight for her vision was not just about technology, but about battling the internal conflicts that had long held her captive. The meeting had been just the beginning. Tomorrow, she would have to confront the cascading challenges ahead, but now, she was armed with purposeful strategy and a commitment stronger than her fear. The promise of tomorrow lingered as she set her mind on crafting something greater than herself, and she was ready to face the next challenge head-on. Little did she know, the greatest obstacle was yet to come, one that would challenge her in ways she never expected. The morning light streamed through Emma's window, illuminating her tangled thoughts and aspirations. As she sipped her coffee, she contemplated the daunting task ahead. Today wasn't just about refining her proposal with the recommendations Lucas had given her. It was about digging deeper and facing her misgivings squarely. The shadows of doubt still loomed large, and she knew she had to confront them. Diving into research, she outlined the potential revenue streams needed to sustain her project. Grants, partnerships, community events, each avenue flickered in her mind as she scribbled them down. But the pages filled slowly, her confidence wavered with each bold plan drafted. Time and again, the persistent whisper returned: what if this wasn't enough? What if she didn't have what it took to see it through? Determined to silence the doubt, Emma decided to reach out to her network. She spent hours crafting emails to local businesses, explaining her vision and the mutual benefits of collaboration. Finding the right tone proved challenging. She wanted to convey her enthusiasm without overselling. Every keystroke felt like a testament to her resolve and a counterpunch to her insecurities. In the afternoon, an unexpected reply arrived from Jenna, her former mentor and head of a well-respected tech startup. Jenna's supportive message ignited something in her. They agreed to meet for lunch, where Emma hoped to gain more insights about sustainable practices in the tech sector and perhaps some encouragement. As they settled into a quiet corner of the bustling cafe, Jenna wasted no time. "So, what's this big idea of yours, Emma?" she asked, eyes sparkling with curiosity. With renewed fire, Emma recounted everything from her visions for student empowerment to the steps she had begun outlining. Jenna listened intently. "You're thinking big, Emma. How amazing is that?" she praised, before pivoting. "But tell me, what's your fallback? If the grants don't come through?" The question felt like a pinprick, revealing the vulnerabilities Emma had tried to keep at bay. "That's something I'm still working on," she admitted, nervously twisting her napkin. "With any venture, you have to imagine the worst-case scenario. What if things don't go according to plan? That's where true leadership shines." Jenna's voice was steady yet encouraging. "You have to be prepared to pivot. Flexibility might just save your project." That realization ignited a new fire in Emma. "So, you're suggesting I develop a contingency plan? Something that adapts as needed?" A thought began to crystallize in her mind. What if her proposal included not just a primary plan but detailed alternatives for various funding scenarios? "Exactly," Jenna replied, a smile breaking across her face. "You must anticipate hesitations and be ready with solutions. It shows that you're serious and committed, not just to the project but to the students you aim to support. The conviction in Jenna's words rang true, and Emma felt the tremors of her fears begin to ebb. It was exhilarating to think beyond the immediate challenges, to embrace the fluid nature of leadership. By the end of lunch, Emma not only had several ideas for her backup plans but felt invigorated by the discussion. As she stepped onto the sun-drenched sidewalk, her heart raced with renewed purpose. This was more than just a proposal, it was a chance to create something transformative. Yet there remained a gnawing question in the back of her mind: would her newfound perspective withstand the trials of execution? Emma knew the path ahead would test her resolve in ways she still had yet to fathom. Would she be able to adapt while maintaining the core of her vision? Armed with fresh insights and a clearer vision, she returned home, eager to refine her plans. But as she typed, a crippling revelation surfaced. The deeper she delved into planning, the more she began to recognize not only her ambitions but her limitations. Could her aspirations withstand the trials of the real world? She had faced obstacles throughout her journey, but now, it felt as though the stakes were higher than they had ever been. The dawning realization hit her hard: she would need to confront not just logistical challenges, but personal barriers she hadn't yet acknowledged. Emma leaned back in her chair, breath shallow as she understood that ownership of this vision required a form of vulnerability she had yet to embrace. As she prepared to recalibrate her proposal's approach with clear contingency plans, she felt the weight of uncertainty return. How much of her well-being and her vision was she willing to risk? The truth loomed larger than life, tantalizing yet terrifying. Her ambitions required not just strategies but a full embrace of the turmoil and uncertainty that came with them. With the flickering cursor staring back at her, Emma was left to ponder whether she was prepared to embrace all aspects of this journey, including the turbulent inner conflicts that awaited her. Tomorrow would not just be an opportunity to pitch a plan, it would be the first day of a transformative battle for the vision, for herself, and what it meant to truly lead. The dawn of a new day fell upon Emma, casting a muted light through her curtains as she wrestled with the intensity of her thoughts. The realization from yesterday's lunch with Jenna echoed in her mind: the need for resilience and the courage to confront her vulnerabilities. As she brewed her morning coffee, she decided that today would mark a pivotal shift. It was time to transform uncertainty into clarity. After a few sips, Emma grabbed a notebook and a pen. The time had come for not just a contingency plan, but a holistic understanding of her project. She began jotting down her weaknesses alongside her strengths, not to wallow in self-doubt but to empower her journey. Each limitation noted was met with a counterpoint, a skill she possessed or a new strategy she could employ. It felt like a map emerging from chaos, an aperture through which her determination could shine. She began to draft sections of her proposal, each paragraph designed to reflect her newfound acknowledgement of complexity. It wasn't just about the potential funding sources but also about presenting herself as an adaptable leader, someone who anticipated challenges head-on. Emma realized she could draw upon her previous experiences. Her time in college, balancing classes, a part-time job, and volunteering, had taught her the art of juggling priorities. She wasn't just an aspiring leader, she had already been navigating uncertainty for years. With each stroke of the pen, Emma felt an inner confidence brewing. The vulnerabilities initially paralyzed her, but now they were becoming stepping stones. She delineated clear action steps to develop outreach campaigns that she had previously shied away from. This wasn't just an act of filling a proposal with complex jargon, it was a declaration of her commitment to create tangible impact. But just as she felt her footing solidify, doubt crept in again. Would her efforts translate into something that truly resonated? What if those she reached out to failed to share her enthusiasm or vision? The fear was a ghost, lurking beneath her determination. Yet Emma decided to confront it. She would invite feedback, not shun it. Perhaps the key to building her project didn't lie solely in her own vision, but rather in collaborative inputs. Gathering opinions could bolster her proposal in ways she hadn't considered. Emma determined she would seek out more conversations, not just formal meetings. She wrote a list of peers, mentors, and even critics, individuals who would challenge her ideas. Each call or message would be an opportunity to refine her thought process and invite diverse perspectives. Rather than fearing criticism, she would frame it as essential fuel for growth. The momentum she began to gather felt almost contagious. Later, during her evening run, the rhythm of her feet against the pavement mirrored the pounding of her heart, pulsating with a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. The fresh air filled her lungs, and she pondered what it truly meant to lead. Perhaps it was in the unpredictable nature of ambition that genuine leadership flourished. When she returned home, her body invigorated, Emma sat down with her notes again, ready to make some adjustments. Then a thought struck her that brought everything to a volatile head. What if her own image of leadership was skewed? Had she been subconsciously modeling her aspirations on outdated notions of authority and success? Emma challenged herself, her internal battle reflective of a growing yearning for authenticity. Was she really willing to become the vulnerable leader she envisioned, the one willing to step down from a pedestal and embrace the grit of collaboration? She felt the weight of that question settle heavily on her shoulders. Her trajectory depended on her answer. Sitting in solitude, the flickering light in her room mirrored her internal flickers of clarity and doubt. The personal and professional development journey was unfurling before her, raw and unpolished, but rife with potential. With her determination crystallizing, Emma leaned closer, staring at her proposal on the screen. It was time to dismantle the facade of the perfect leader and embrace the essence of what she hoped to manifest. Would she bend her reality to fit the conventional mold, or carve an authentic path that remained true to her and the students she was fighting for? The course of her decision mattered greatly. Tomorrow was not just another day. It would be the threshold of discovering her true self in the fray of passion and self-exploration, an authentic leader who could allow her imperfections to coexist with ambition. Would she have the courage to forge that path amidst the uncertainties? Emma could already feel the exhilarating promise of challenge ahead, plotting her next move in this high-stakes journey. Emma woke early the next day, her mind racing with anticipation. She had decided that confronting her doubts wasn't enough. She needed to immerse herself in the realities of leadership. There was a palpable shift within her, a sense of urgency to tackle the challenges head-on. She recalled Jenna's words about resilience and felt ready to redefine what success meant for her. After a quick breakfast, she returned to her proposal, determined to enhance its impact. The morning light streaming through her window illuminated the vision she was crafting, and it felt almost electric. She began highlighting the sections that spoke most to her purpose: connection, growth, and collaboration. This wasn't merely a project, it was a declaration of who she wanted to be as a leader. In a moment of clarity, Emma realized she needed an anchor, a robust rationale for her mission. Servicing the community was central to her project's heart, but what truly motivated her? As she wrote down her personal story, she recognized the threads of her narrative: the challenges she had faced, the people who had influenced her choices, and the profound desire to create change. This reflection illuminated not just her strengths but pointed toward hidden potentials she had never acknowledged. Emma decided to reach out to those listed in her planner. She prepared herself for the first conversation, nerves dancing in her stomach. Her old college professor, Dr. Harris, was her first target. He had always been an advocate for critical thinking and meaningful dialogue, and Emma was certain his insights would challenge her in productive ways. Dialing his number, she felt her heart race. When he picked up, his warm voice immediately calmed her. What followed was a candid exchange, where Emma opened up about her doubts and aspirations. Dr. Harris listened attentively, asking probing questions that made her think deeply. He challenged her to articulate her vision without relying on clichés, urging her to dig deeper into what truly motivated her. Emma, don't shy away from your authentic self. Leadership isn't about being perfect, it's about being responsible for your growth and the growth of others, he said. His words struck her with clarity. They laid bare the unattainable image of leadership she had clung to and reassured her that imperfection was a part of the journey. As the call wrapped up, Emma felt a surge of energy. She started compiling the insights gained, transforming her initial ideas into a stronger, more authentic narrative. The fear that had loomed over her was morphing into a sense of confidence as she shared her vision with others. Each conversation became a beacon, illuminating aspects of her leadership style she had previously dismissed. Over the next few days, she shared her evolving proposal with several peers and experts. The more she engaged, the more equipped she felt to adapt her approach. Each piece of feedback became a tool for honing her message. Others resonated with her story, some even opened up about their own fears and vulnerabilities, creating a tapestry of shared experiences. But then came a turning point. While having coffee with a former colleague, Emma learned about a rival project that mirrored her concept. Instinctively, she felt a rush of anxiety. This was the first time she had encountered real competition. Instead of succumbing to fear, she chose to embrace it. Competition meant that her idea had weight and significance, that it mattered enough to be noticed. Her mind whirred with possibilities. What was it about her vision that could set it apart? Emma sat at her table, staring into her coffee as the dawning realization sparked inspiration. Perhaps it wasn't just about the project itself but the unique approach she could take, centered on authentic collaboration, inclusiveness, and personal storytelling. In her quiet moment, she determined that the competition was not just an obstacle, but an opportunity to refine her vision further. She would redefine her strategy, integrate the lessons learned, and take bold steps to assert her narrative in the landscape of leadership discourse. Emma took a deep breath, invigorated by her decision to transform this anxiety into motivation. But, as she prepared for her next steps, doubts began to resurface. What if she failed to stand out? Just as these thoughts hovered, rejuvenation surged through her. This journey was about authenticity, vulnerability, and resilience. The horizon was opening, a labyrinth of challenges and insights ahead, waiting to be navigated. Would her unique perspective be enough to elevate her project beyond mere replicability? Emma stared at her proposal on the screen once more. The rush of excitement was tinted with trepidation but fueled by newfound strength. As she prepared to pitch her vision later that week, the stakes felt higher than ever. Would she rise to the occasion, or would doubt shackle her ambitions? The answer lay just beyond the next challenge, one she could already feel drawing closer. Emma woke the next morning with the sun just beginning to peek through the curtains, casting gentle shadows across her living room. The events of the previous days swirled in her mind, but instead of feeling overwhelmed, she sensed a new fire burning inside her. Each conversation she had sparked fresh ideas, but they also left her with a troubling question: what did authenticity mean when faced with competition? She picked up her laptop and opened her proposal once more. The edges of her vision were sharp with possibility, yet she felt the cold grip of self-doubt creeping in again. This was her moment to demonstrate her vision, but how could she embrace vulnerability and authenticity while standing tall against a competitor? Emma needed to confront this paradox head-on. As she typed, she began to outline the priorities of her vision, not just her plans, but what core values would underpin her actions as a leader. The more she explored her thoughts, the more she realized that this moment of competition could be woven into her story. She would acknowledge it but not be defined by it. After an hour of crafting and refining her ideas, Emma decided it was time to meet her rival head-on. Placing a call to Jenna, a fellow colleague who could connect her with resources, she felt an electric mix of anxiety and determination. When Jenna answered, Emma expressed her apprehension about the competing project. "Emma, everyone faces challenges, but think of it as a chance to elevate your narrative. You have something unique to bring to the table," Jenna reassured her. "Do you really think so?" Emma countered, her voice tinged with doubt. "Absolutely. Focus on what makes your approach different. What can your story reveal? You've been through a lot, use that to showcase your perspective," Jenna replied. The call left Emma invigorated. She knew she had to delve into her personal journey for authenticity to shine through her proposal. She spent the afternoon reflecting on her motivations and values. Each memory she revisited served as a thread stitching together her life's fabric. Struggles and triumphs emerged, revealing hidden strengths she hadn't fully recognized before. With renewed resolve, Emma scheduled a meeting with her supportive peer group. She planned to present her refined ideas, to expose her vulnerabilities but also to seek their feedback as allies, not adversaries. Perhaps gaining insights from trusted colleagues would help her articulate her vision with even more clarity. As that meeting approached, her stomach fluttered. Would she reveal enough of herself? Or would she hold back? This was a critical juncture in her professional development, and the stakes felt high. The group gathered in a communal space, a warm, inviting environment that offered comfort amidst the palpable tension. Emma began by sharing her revised proposal, leaning into her past experiences while painting a vibrant vision for the future. The room remained silent as they absorbed her words. When she finally finished, she braced herself for critiques, but their responses were unexpectedly positive. Your experiences are your strength, Emma. This is relatable. It's not just an idea, it's a community, one colleague asserted, and others chimed in, agreeing. As the meeting progressed, Emma felt the layers of her anxiety peel away, revealing a core of determination. They encouraged her to add a personal anecdote from her past, a defining moment that could anchor her proposal in a way that others would find engaging. This push compelled her to reflect again, this time internalizing the lessons learned from her triumphs and failures. But even as her confidence began to swell, another thought nagged at the back of her mind. What if her story didn't resonate as she hoped? What if this final push still left her in the shadows of her competitor? Just as that doubt threatened to engulf her, she recalled Dr. Harris's wisdom: leadership wasn't about perfection, it was about growth, both personal and shared. This was her moment to embrace her full self and share it unapologetically. As the meeting concluded, Emma felt a sense of accomplishment, however tempered by the unresolved tension of competition. She had leaned into her vulnerabilities, but the final presentation loomed ever closer, and the doubt returned, weighing on her spirit. Would her authentic story resonate enough to take the lead in this competitive landscape? Emma left the meeting knowing she had taken significant strides but now faced new uncertainties. The showdown to come was inevitable, but standing at this threshold, she grasped that her journey was truly beginning to unfold. What would happen when she faced her competitor head-on? Emma couldn't shake the feeling that her next challenge went deeper than presentation. It would test her commitment to authenticity and transformation. The true measure of her leadership arc was on the horizon, marking a pivotal moment that could change her path forever. The day of the presentation dawned, heavy with anticipation. Emma's heart raced as she prepared to deliver her vision to a room filled with decision-makers. The stakes felt monumental, yet beneath the layers of anxiety, a thread of excitement pulsed through her veins. She understood that authenticity wasn't just a concept, it was her lifeline. She arrived early, familiarizing herself with the space. A sense of calm washed over her as she reviewed her notes in a sun-drenched corner of the conference room. The subtle warmth of the light ignited a reminder of her journey, of the vulnerability she had already embraced in her peer group meeting. This was not just about competing against Jenna, it was about sharing her truth. As the audience filed in, Emma took a deep breath. She focused on the faces around her, not as opponents but as potential allies. Each individual represented a unique opportunity for connection. The room buzzed with chatter, but in her mind, silence enveloped her. She could hear only the thud of her heart and the soft murmur of self-encouragement. When her moment arrived, Emma stepped forward, purposeful and steady. The first words tumbled out, and as she shared her vision, she could feel their interest peaking. With every sentence, she injected pieces of her story, revealing the lessons learned through hardship and resilience. Her narrative wasn't just data and facts, it contained the weight of her lived experiences, her struggles, and her aspirations. But as she moved deeper into her proposal, the whisper of self-doubt began to creep in again. What if no one could connect with her story? What if they preferred the polished approach her rival presented? Just when the shadows of doubt threatened to re-enter her mind, she visualized Dr. Harris's encouraging words. Leadership is about the courage to be authentic in the face of fear. As she delved into her most personal anecdotes, she could sense a shift in the room. Eyes softened, and the audience leaned in closer. There, amid her story, she discovered a new strength. Her vulnerability resonated deeply, illuminating commonalities among her listeners. They connected with her passion and determination, not just her ideas. She reached a pivotal moment in her presentation, drawing on a particular experience that had shaped her mission. It was the time when she faced her deepest insecurities but chose to act regardless. As she described that pivotal moment, Emma saw nods and empathetic expressions. However, the looming idea of the competition was still present. Jenna's polished, well-researched proposal was a tangible reminder that Emma's authenticity would need to be more than enough, it must be impactful. Finishing her presentation, Emma opened the floor to questions. "Your journey is compelling," one member of the panel said, admiration shining in their gaze. "But could you share how you intend to execute this project in a competitive field?" The question hit her, and she felt adrenaline rush through her. This was not only about recounting her past, it was about connecting her story to the future. "I appreciate that question. My journey has taught me that authenticity will attract those who may share my vision. My strategy isn't only aimed at outcomes, it's about building a community based on sincerity. This isn't just my project, it's a collaboration, something we can achieve together." With every back and forth, Emma solidified her understanding of the blend between authenticity and competition. She had walked onto that stage with the fire of her experiences, and now it ignited a spark among her audience. As the final applause rang in her ears, a mixture of exhilaration and apprehension coursed through her. Had she adequately conveyed her vision? Could she truly stand apart and uncover the core of what made her perspective unique? As she left the stage, a wave of uncertainty hit her. Immediately, Emma found herself face to face with Jenna, who congratulated her genuinely but with a glimmer of competitive fire in her eyes. "That was impressive, Emma. I underestimated the emotional depth of your approach. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out." Emma felt a juxtaposition of camaraderie and rivalry. What if she had inadvertently awakened an even fiercer competitor? This encounter marked a turning point. She realized that authentic leadership didn't shy away from competition but embraced it. The journey she had undertaken ignited another one of self-awareness and respect for the challenges ahead. What would she uncover about her competitor in the days to come? Emma couldn't shake the urgency to discover not only her fate but the deeper lessons about collaboration and mutual growth that awaited in the face of rivalry. Emma awoke the next morning to the bright rays of sunshine filtering through her curtains. The events of her presentation still lingered in her mind, a whirlwind of emotions ranging from triumph to vulnerability. She had shared her story and the audience had leaned in, their reactions from affirmation to curiosity fueling her ambitions. But now was the time to reflect, to channel that energy into the next steps of her journey. Sitting at her kitchen table, she took a moment to breathe deeply, allowing herself to relish the satisfaction of having presented her vision. Yet, beneath that satisfaction lay a growing realization of the work ahead. Response from the panel had pointed not only to success but also to the importance of accountability. If she hoped to build a legacy from her vision, she needed to translate her words into concrete actions. Still bubbling with excitement from her presentation, Emma reached for her proposal, ready to refine it further. It wasn't just about securing funding, it was about building a sustainable model that inspired trust and ignited passion for innovation in the community. Inspired by the members' encouragement, she began revising with renewed fervor. She delineated her proposed action steps clearly, addressing the anticipated challenges and outlining specific strategies for collaboration. She vividly sketched how other organizations had achieved success through shared goals and transparency. Emma realized that the competition she had once feared and even resented could actually be a powerful catalyst for her own growth. As days passed, Emma navigated a maze of meeting schedules. Partnering with local businesses and securing resources became her focus, building relationships with those who shared her vision. Gradually, this process emerged as a defining feature of her project. Every interaction reinforced the truth that she was not alone on this journey. The breakthrough came one Friday afternoon during a meeting with Jenna. Perhaps it was the palpable tension of competition that spurred collaboration. They had iterated over their respective visions, engaging in lively discussions that revealed the strengths of both proposals. Rather than compare notes as adversaries, they began to see each other as allies. Their shared purpose shifted the dynamics from rivalry to alliance, and together they envisioned a community initiative that would integrate both of their approaches. While the friendship was nascent, the trust they were building reshaped Emma's perspective. It made her realize that true leadership meant facilitating rather than controlling. It required weaving connections that could uplift one another. The mantra echoed in her mind: collaboration, not isolation. Weeks turned into months, and as Emma tirelessly worked to finalize her proposal, feedback mechanisms and sustainable benchmarks became second nature. She felt a profound sense of confidence blossoming. The fear she had initially carried transformed into a fierce resolve. On a bright, sunny Thursday, she presented her refined proposal to the council. The audience was receptive, engaged not just by her narrative but by the collaborative effort that defined her project. As the conversation meandered towards funding possibilities, Emma was eager yet composed. "Emma, your designed path requires detailed input from various stakeholders," one member remarked. "This collaboration feels like a united community effort while allowing individual shine. How can we ensure all voices persist throughout the process?" With an empowered sense of clarity, Emma replied, "By implementing regular meetings and feedback loops, we can keep engagement ongoing. This project isn't merely about launching an initiative, it's about fostering a community of continual learning and growth." As applause erupted at the end of her presentation, Emma felt more than just validation. She felt recognized. With a newfound clarity, not only had she shared a vision but established a proactive community committed to education and inspiration. Back at her desk, she basked in the residual glow of success. The project that had once seemed an elusive dream was taking shape, grounded in her authentic narrative. Taking a moment to reflect, she now embodied the qualities she had aspired to achieve: tenacious resolve, collaborative spirit, and profound authenticity. Emma understood her journey would continue in myriad forms, evolving with the challenges she faced. But this was only the beginning. She had successfully positioned herself not just as a teacher but as a leader. With a vision from, and for, her community, she was ready to conquer new horizons. Now, it was time to share her message with the world. Emma smiled to herself, aware that immense gratitude awaited her in the chapters to come. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to witness more exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like to help us grow and share in the comments your thoughts on Emma's transformation. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how overcoming personal challenges can truly change lives. Let's spread inspiration together.